British Prime Minister Liz Truss faced the wrath of Parliament today.
Yeah, her economic agenda is under added scrutiny as inflation in the UK hits a staggering 10.1%. Last week, Truss's finance minister resigned, and her government is now moving forward with a near-complete reversal of her economic plans.
I've got the list here. 45p tax cut, gone. Corporation tax cut, gone. 20p tax cut, gone. 2-year energy freeze, gone. Tax-free shopping, gone. Economic credibility, gone. They're all gone. So why is she still here?
Mr. Speaker, I am a fighter and not a quitter.
CBS News foreign correspondent Ramy Inocencio joins us now for more on this. Ramy, good to see you. Tell us, what is going on Downing Street at the moment?
Oh, man, a mess is what's going on, frankly, there. This is a government with its prime minister making U-turns on a series of promises she campaigned on just 2 months ago in order to get elected by her own Conservative Party members. This is a prime minister and finance minister, by the way, declaring different policies about the same topic, and now many in her own party, let alone the opposition Labour Party. We just saw Keir Starmer there asking or telling her to step down. Today, Liz Truss was jeered by members of Parliament, some in her own party, and it reflects the mood of a majority here in this country. One phrase we're commonly hearing now: she is in office but not in power. Another described today's PMQs as make or break, and another forecast that she could be out by this Christmas.
It sounds like her days in office may already be numbered, especially when we're hearing not just that searing criticism from the opposition party, but also from members of her own party. Is there any hope for Liz Truss at all?
Hope, yes, she definitely is keeping that to herself. But to answer that, really, there are two ways to look at this: within her own Conservative Party, and then in a general election with the entire voting public involved. Now, with her own party, there's absolutely blood in the water, but the Tories don't have an obvious mechanism to replace her at the moment. Neither do they have an obvious replacement right now. So she could theoretically limp on until January of 2025. That is the latest that the next general election needs to be held. She will probably not want to call one any earlier, and that's because with the entire voting public I mentioned, she is, get this, the least popular prime minister in at least the past 2 decades. A new YouGov poll shows just 10% of respondents have a favorable view of her. 80% see her unfavorably. If a general were held now, her party wouldn't just come in second, it would come in third. The Labour Party and Keir Starmer would likely become the new prime minister.
Those are not good poll numbers for Liz Truss. Ramy, what is the process for selecting a new Conservative leader should that need arise?
Sure. Good question. I think before we even get to that question, the Conservative Party has to figure out how to get rid of Liz Truss first. There is a party rule, for example, that dictates a new prime minister can't be challenged in his or her first year in office, but it's possible that could be changed. No talk about it yet, but it is possible. Liz Truss could also be forced out through mass resignations like what we saw just a few months ago with Boris Johnson. That, of course, triggered his resignation earlier this year. But, just today, the Home Secretary resigned. She was responsible for national security, and she's been seen as a rising star herself. But if Truss were to be forced down, there really isn't any shortage of politicians who would want to try again. Rishi Sunak, he's the former chancellor under Boris Johnson. He lost to Truss this summer. He could try to make a comeback. Jeremy Hunt, the new finance minister, well-placed because of his role. But another YouGov poll also found that Boris Johnson, yes, his name again, is actually the most popular choice. He left the door open when he stepped down. We might remember that. And frankly, this would be pretty sweet revenge and a massive I told you so moment if we're saying Prime Minister Boris Johnson at some point in the future.
Oh, that's so interesting because, Ramy, when you say he left the door open, I remember him saying that he was like a rocket ship who's being plunged into the ocean somewhere. So that would be such an interesting turn of events. All right, Ramy, thanks.
You bet.